Have you ever looked at the premiums that they collect and the money that they pay? It goes better. What advice would you give to manufacturers to improve their product? What asphalt manufacturers could do? How commoditized soy market is? Is it supply and demand? Is it sustainable?
Our dealer just went out and said, I want to show you what our product can do. He puts it on, and a week and a half later, the biggest hailstorm that contractor had seen in his market had come through.
Michael, first, happy birthday. You're working on your birthday, which is, I salute you, 55 years old. You look amazing. How is life treating you today?
Awesome. Yeah, it's actually nice to wake up and want to go to work on your birthday. So, work's not work if you enjoy what you're doing, as we talked about earlier, right? You have to have a passion for it. So, all good. But excited to be here. Love what you put out, all your content.
Thank you.
Very valuable to the industry and I think to property owners as well. So very cool.
Love it. My first question is, take me back all the way to, I believe it was 87, 88, to your roofing days. How did you get in the roofing industry and your first couple of years as a roofer?
Yeah, I started in 85, right out of high school, working
85.
with a friend of our family. Yeah. Did that for about 6 months, $6.50 an hour, minimum wage back then. Got out of the business, and then my brother also put himself through college. He was living away, had a technical job. Convinced him to come back in 1988. We started our roofing company, doing new construction. So in my home's a local contractor, and then started getting into the remodeling side, and things grew, and the business changed, and over the years, all the struggles you go through, the ups and downs, the business, the entrepreneurial roller coaster, so to speak.
So how many years total have you been in the roofing business? So you became a business owner in 88.
Yeah.
Can't imagine. It's so far.
37 years, 37 years, almost 40 years in the roofing business.
Wow.
But started in 88, so 43 years as a contractor, or 34 years as a contractor, or 37 years as a contractor. My brother's been in the roofing business for 40 years now. So a long time, and the industry's changed dramatically. It's not the same industry as it was when we started, which is good. There's a lot of positives, a lot of negatives, but yeah, overall, it's an awesome industry. We love it. I'm a proud roofer for a lifer.
Love it.
Yeah.
Tell me about Roof Maxx idea, when it was born. And when did you, because right now you don't own a roofing business, Roof Maxx is your brand.
Correct.
And most people know you as the co-founder of Roof Maxx. Take me back to roofing days and how a Roof Maxx idea was born.
A few different things happened. So, we saw in 2004, we were down in Florida with the hurricanes. We had offices up and down the East Coast, between Cape Canaveral and Miami. And I came across a product that was being applied to shingles, not at scale. It was very local in that market, and it was a clear coating, and I love what they were doing. I love the concept. And some of the roofs that he had treated prior to the hurricane made it through the hurricane when other homes in the neighborhood did not survive. So it just always stuck in my head. We really didn't go forward with anything, but I liked the concept. I actually went and met the guy. And
was it cleaning or was it coating?
This was actually a clear coating, so it wasn't cleaning. So it wasn't cleaning at all. They would go in and apply almost like...
What made it survive the hurricane?
It was an elastomeric paint, but it was clear, and it helped seal the shingle tabs together. And I think there were strands of like fiberglass within it. And anyway, it was a very unique product. I saw an ad, called the guy up, met him, and went and grabbed lunch and just wanted to learn more about it. I thought it was very cool.
Are they still in business?
I don't believe they are. He really wasn't a roofing contractor. He was the manufacturer of the product, trying to get it out in the market. And of course, all the challenges that brings, which we've definitely learned over the last few years with Roof Maxx. Getting a new concept or a new product in the market, it takes a while to get the adoption. Mm-hmm. So, but then we moved forward to the downturn in the economy of, I'm trying to think what year that was. When did the economy go down? We got hit. 08.
Right.
So 08, 09, with the housing crisis and the economy, people couldn't afford to replace roofs. So we started going in and doing maintenance packages, repairs and maintenance packages, getting more life for people's roofs. And we really saw a trend. People like that. Even people that thought they needed a new roof and we're getting a price, we could come out and tell them, look, we think we can get you another 3-4 years if we just do this, if that helps, or here's a replacement cost. People obviously opted for the repair and the maintenance package. So we definitely saw a trend there. And then when we had the opportunity to sell the company in 2013, we took that opportunity and then started going down this path of roof rejuvenation. So the company we started right after we sold Feazel Roofing was a company called Roof Revivers. So we had not figured out the treatment product yet, right? But Roof Revivers, as the name implies, right? We're figuring out how do we figure out how to make roofs go longer.
So at that time you already knew you want to do something different. What was the main reasons why you sold the company?
There were a number of reasons. One, we'd been in the business for 25 years, so kind of had enough there.
Burning out or just
burning out, doing the same thing repetitively, no new challenge. By that point, the company kind of ran itself. I could take off for 3 or 4 months at a time. We had really, really great people around us. So, and wanted a new challenge. So we started Roof Revivers, did that for a few years, came across the soy methyl ester product, which is now Roof Maxx. There was an old product that was created in the market that really didn't make it into the market. We bought the licensing rights for that product. That patent has since expired, and now we have a new patent. When I say we're partnered with the American farmer, so the Soybean Association, specifically the Ohio Soybean Association here. And so they helped us with the funding and the research and development, which was done through Battelle Labs, which is the world's largest research and development company. We also brought on Ohio State for a lot of the testing and to control the testing, doing environmental impact studies, just to make sure the product was going to go into the market the way we wanted, make sure it wasn't going to cause problems.
And now it's 2014, 2015, or when are you doing all the research?
So that was 2015, late 15 when we came across the first product. By 16, we knew we had something. We went and did a partnership with the Ohio Soybean Council. We were still using the original product. And we were working on a product that didn't just rejuvenate a roof, but also would clean the roof, remove the black streaking, which is caused by so much crushed limestone in today's shingles. As you know, asphalt shingles today are about a third lighter than they were just a few decades ago. And that's caused problems in the industry.
And algae is, limestone causes algae because algae eats on the limestone?
The food source, northern slope, water source, now you get black streaking on your roof. It was not a phenomenon that was around in the 80s when I got in the business. I mean, there might have been in the South, down in Florida or Georgia, maybe you would have more algae, but in Ohio...
manufacturers invented this problem by diluting their shingles, essentially.
Basically, I don't know if they did it on purpose to create the streaking, but definitely by reducing the amount of asphalt.
Side effect of chipping the shingle.
It's created a new industry, which is roof cleaning, which really didn't exist before. We see roofs here in this neighborhood. These homes are 6-7 years old. You're seeing black streaking everywhere. So,
but now they started adding more copper, and it looks like that's helping. Malarkey, Atlas shingles.
Yeah, there are some good solutions out there for sure.
Yep.
So everything evolves, everything moves forward. One of my frustrations, you asked why we sold the company. One of the frustrations of my brother and I had was there were a lot of labor issues, there were a lot of other challenges, but then we saw the shift when the product changed, the manufacturing process changed, when they started to remove the asphalt. And really the manufacturers, they were put into a tough situation because there was a piece of technology called a coker, about $1 billion piece of equipment that goes on at the oil refineries. Of course, asphalt is a byproduct of refining oil. And from what I understand, it used to be about 5% byproduct. A coker brought it down to 2.5%, 3% byproduct. So all of a sudden, roofing literally went through the roof. We saw roofing shingles triple in price in a very short period of time. The packages, when you're talking about architectural shingles, it used to be 4 bundles to the square. And it was printed on the side of the shingle, on the bundle, 80 pounds. Architects didn't specify a warranty. They specified weight, a 320-pound shingle. So that all started to shift. That all started to change. Then we started seeing bigger claims being made on the warranties. Just a lot of things had shifted. The market now, storming became something common, which was not really around the...
Storm chasing.
Storm chasing, yep. We got hit with the first hailstorm in 2003. And like most retail contractors, by the time it came and went, we had figured out actually how to capitalize on it, but it was too late because it was gone. Then in 2006, another hailstorm hit, and we figured out how to take advantage of it by then and really work the storm, work with Xactimate, the insurance companies. It's a whole process, right? Which today, the majority of roofing contractors have a restoration element to them, so to speak, which is good. I mean, you need to, and they're different than the stormers of old. I'm sure there's still companies out there doing this, but they come in town, they set up their tent, they hook with a local contractor, and they move on to the next town.
Do sets.
And that's a very common, that was really all that was happening back then. Today, it seems to be that companies come in town, buy up an existing company, maybe when a storm hits, and then keep that office and make it a retail office that also does storm work. And I think that's a great model. There's certainly a need for it. So, but anyway, just a lot of changes have happened over the last 35 years that we've seen.
My next question is, you invented the product, great product, solves great problem that we have. I think it's fair to say that you got a lot of hate from the industry, both manufacturers and installers. How can you explain the hate, the resistance, why people did not jump on it? Why they're like, oh, no, not this.
Yeah. Anything new, people are skeptical about. So I certainly get that. In the roofing industry, we see products come and go. And there's not wide adoption on a lot of products. Roofing industry changes slowly, and that's probably not a bad thing to many degrees. But there's also new technology today needs to be taken advantage of to solve other problems. But to be honest, now we're starting to see a shift in the roofing industry. We had a major manufacturer reach out to us. Now we're in conversations with many people within the roofing industry. That's really opened some doors. I think people realizing that, we have roofing contractors out there that are very successful, have been in business for, our largest dealer, Mills Roofing and Truckee Tahoe, Reno, Nevada area. Will do nearly $3 million this year in Roof Maxx treatments. And he told me the other day, Mike, I think I can hit 20% to the bottom line, combined Roof Maxx with his retail business, with his replacement business.
That's impressive. It's good numbers.
And those are good numbers. And, his advertising that's in that local market, it's, hey, I've got some great news. We can help you get more life out of your roof unless you absolutely need one. So now he's become the roofer as other dealers of ours. When you can become the dealer that doesn't replace a roof unless it absolutely needs to be replaced, I think you get more replacements. I think you just get more business in general.
Do you recommend contractors to have it as addition to their roofing business or as a separate business? Who would you rather work with? With someone who adds it as a service to existing roofing company, or someone who just want to be specialist in this service?
So our current model is you have to have a separate business because we are building a brand. So there's other products in the market that aren't building brands, and that's fine. And those are just bolt-on services, which again, there's nothing wrong with that as long as the product does what the claims, meets the claims. But we feel that it's important to build a brand because it's a new industry. Rejuvenation does not exist in the mind of the consumer. It's just starting to exist in the mind of the contractor with still a decent amount of resistance. And, again, that's acceptable. But we're slowly chipping away at that. We've got videos, testimonials out from homes that the garage was treated with Roof Maxx, the house wasn't. The garage roof survived, the house roof didn't, and it was actually
hail damage or
hail damage. It's called the Iowa hail study, and it was a contractor's home, and our local dealer went in and said, hey, he did solar, roofing, siding, and windows, and so our dealer just went out and said, I want to show you what our product can do. He puts it on, and a week and a half later, the biggest hailstorm that contractor had seen in his market had come through. So he also brought a home inspector to look at the roof and we need to verify things that are happening. So we've seen the same thing when Hurricane Sally hit Alabama. We have a dealer there that had neighborhoods where, and he's a roofing contractor, neighborhoods where a lot of the roofs were damaged, but yet Roof Maxx treated roofs were not of the same age.
Those are pretty big statements. So how did the study explain it? Because how do you explain it? Because it softens it. Why such a big difference?
As asphalt becomes brittle, it's not flexible. It doesn't withstand wind. It can't contract and expand. The granules start to shed off, right? Eventually just replace the roof. All we're doing is replacing the dried out petrochemical oil with an all natural bio oil, which restores flexibility. So we had testing from Ohio State University, specifically at PRI testing labs in Tampa, Florida. And they work with most of the major roofing manufacturers for testing, ASTM testing. So we had PRI test flexibility, permeability, degranulation. Want to make sure we didn't change the fire rating. We wanted to know what this product was going to do with the shingles before we really put it into the market in a big way. And it came back, we passed the same flexibility testing that's required of brand new shingles. We did not pass the ASTM degranulation test, but we were very close.
Why didn't you pass that one?
Because it didn't lock the granule down to what a brand new roof would.
I see.
Right. But we stopped degranulation by, I don't know what the number was, over 50%, I believe. We reduced hail impact by, I don't know what the percentage was, 25, 30%. Because a malleable asphalt is flexible, it's also going to resist hail. You go into a hailstorm, into the epicenter of a hailstorm. Brand new roofs will withstand your golf ball size hail. It's not uncommon for them to withstand golf ball size hail, where any older roof is going to get wiped out. So basically we're just bringing life back to that asphalt is all we're doing. There's no magic to it. It's very simple. It penetrates down in to the shingle, and it connects to the hydrocarbon backbone, which is what asphalt has a hydrocarbon backbone. Petrochemical oil sits on that hydrocarbon backbone and allows it to remain flexible and waterproof, but petrochemical oil dries out. So the bio oil marries directly back to that hydrocarbon backbone, identically to the way that a petrochemical oil does.
Interesting.
Actually, our product is a byproduct, is used in biodiesel, which is plant-based gasoline.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So it's kind of, yeah.
I'm getting connections here.
Yep. So again, we brought on Battelle Laboratories to create the second formulation, which holds a patent. We were issued a patent last year. And the Soybean Council owns the patent. We have exclusive rights globally to the roofing industry, because maybe they can figure out something else to do with it.
Elsewhere?
Yep, so we have a patent here in the States now, and we have applied in Canada waiting for that, as well as Europe. We will have another generation ultimately that will come out for modified bitumen. It'll have to be a thicker product, because that modified's obviously thicker than asphalt shingles.
Of course. You're the only public person that I know who publicly called out 50-year manufacturer warranty on the shingle side. Today, you also have your product. And my question is, many people are skeptical about manufacturers just changing label, changing packaging. 30-year product yesterday, today is going to be 50 years, didn't change technology, didn't change much, but just call it. Isn't it regulated? Can something be done with, you've called them out. I've heard you talk about it. I've heard a lot of big voices in the roofing community talking about it as a concern. And I understand why some manufacturers follow this suit, because, if your competition is doing it and you're not, they're 50 or 30, it's hard. What can be done about it? Because we're misleading consumers. You cannot convince any roofer, any consumer that shingle will last 50 years. It's a 25, maybe 30-year product. What can be done? Yeah,
I don't even believe it's 25 or 30. So Florida just tried to pass a law within Roofing Contractor magazine, and they were trying to the insurance industry was trying to get roofs replaced at year 10, and that was struck down. But if you're 15 in Florida, you're getting a letter from your insurance company. I mean,
even if you have 50-year warranty.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. They don't care about that,
well,
right?
The thing is, like, if manufacturers are so bold, how about they deal with insurance companies and say, hey, we're going to provide the documentation that you don't need to replace them.
Yeah, I don't know if there's behind the scenes conversations going on there. Maybe, maybe not. I know the insurance industry has been hammered by the roofing industry. Today, 1 out of 3 roofs are replaced by the insurance companies.
I don't think they've been hammered. I mean, it's still like very small percent. I mean, they get a dent, but it's still a dent for insurance.
From what I understand, the people I've spoke with within the insurance industry, and they're talking collectively, homeowners insurance is not profitable for them anymore. But they do make money on the auto and the life and everything else, because roofing has turned into, in many cases, the insurance companies are becoming the maintenance company for the roof on a home. You know, there's contractors out there that knock on the door and say, hey, you're missing a shingle and they can't match it and I'll get you a new roof. I mean, is that right? I didn't write the policy. Every state's different. In many instances, I don't agree with it. In some instances, maybe I do. It depends on the situation. Everyone's different.
I'm going to push back a little bit. Have you ever looked at insurance reports on their profit loss statements? Like any big company. So you're talking about Allstate, State Farm and stuff like. Have you ever looked at the premiums that they collect and the money that they pay?
Well, so I remember back in the day when I was doing the roof replacements with insurance, there was no rhyme or reason, and it was not uncommon for them to come in extremely low, and how many people accepted that money. So there's two sides of this, right? For sure, there's two sides of it.
No, but I'm talking about globally. So like
you mean the net profit of the entire organization?
Yeah, how much they collect. So think about this. Insurance, like State Farm, I believe it's 2019 or 2020 number. Like what we hear is like, oh, insurance company, that seems like they replace more and more and more. State Farm collects $65 billion in premiums. You know how much they pay out in claims? All the claims.
No.
Less than 5.
I've not heard that number.
Exactly.
Or that statistic.
It's in their reports. Yeah. The same with the Allstate. It'll be like $3 billion and they collect like 35. Now, how much they spend on advertising? Billion and a half. Like insane.
So what ends up happening though, and what I'm hearing you say to me, and every industry seems to do it, there's this propaganda machine. And we saw it within the roofing industry when they started to remove the weight, the weight on the bundles. They used to train you at live trainings. They would come into town, the manufacturers, that shingles are going to shed a little bit of granules after it's installed. You know, the ones that are just kind of the hangers. It will go in and not shed granules. It'll go dormant until about the last 5 years of its life, and then it'll start to shed granules. And now the marketing is your shingle won't look the same even a year later, right? And I don't think that it's the manufacturers trying. I don't believe that a bunch of CEOs sitting, all these executives at all the manufacturers are going, how can we rip off the consumer? I just don't believe that. I don't believe that on the insurance side. I don't believe that on the manufacturer side.
But they have to be more profitable.
I think that they're driven by profit. There's a thing now called ESG, environmental social governance type businesses. BlackRock, who is, I think, $8.5 trillion under management, biggest in the world. Larry Fink was talking about that recently and wrote an open letter to public company CEOs. And they're actually, as an investment, basically investment advisor in a way, right? They're going to point their customers away from companies that are only looking after bottom line profits. And so there has to be a social side of a company. And then you're going to get weighted heavier, so the valuation of those companies will go up. I think things like that will solve a lot of these problems.
Sure.
I think COVID, they were concerned that COVID was going to take that whole, push them back a decade. And actually it pushed us forward a decade in a positive way, because more money did flood into ESGs. And actually there was a 2.5% spread with ESG public companies versus non that were more profitable. So now even more money is going into it. So I think that public companies and large companies, the CEOs, are driven by short-term profits. And that's always been a problem. And now I think things are changing. I think your generation, I'm 55.
Because general public start calling them out. Because if this new generation stop buying from not green companies, like people actually make the decision to boycott the company because they don't believe in what they're doing. It takes one scandal, and they just like, nope, I'm not going to participate in that.
Millennials have made the change, and and all generations after you guys are going to continue on more so. My generation was greed, right? Back in the 80s, it was about making money, fast cars, right? How much money could you make? And we didn't have environmental concerns. All of those things really didn't exist. That's all come to the forefront over the last few decades, rightfully so. There are people out there that don't believe in global warming, but you can't argue that going in and just wiping out rainforest makes sense. Exactly. Or dumping plastic into the oceans makes sense, whether you believe in global warming or not. So sustainability makes sense. We've certainly learned a lot more about that. I have, as we've gone down this path and understanding the impact that something as simple as roof rejuvenation can have on the market or on the environment. So we get to save people money, we get to help save the environment. But if all companies start looking at things this way, and they're judged on their profits and what good they do into society as a balance, I think it's a much better model.
But let's get back to 50-year warranty. What can be done? Like, do you think if roofers, because I think it made all us look bad. I talked to so many roofers, and roofers don't want to sell lifetime warranty, because if you ask me, if I'm in your house selling your roof, and people will ask you, how long will it last? I will say, well, in Minneapolis, realistically, it's 15, 18 years, but you're selling them lifetime warranty, and they're going to call bullshit on you, rightfully so. So can a roofer demand from manufacturer to lower the warranty in something more believable?
If they did, I would think ARMA should get together, have the conversation and say, look, let's all do this. Let's set a standard. Let's call it what it is. There was a very small manufacturer that we saw in Columbus, Ohio, back in the early 2000s, back when all of the shingles started to change and the weight started to drop and all of that. And they came in and they had a 25-year architectural that competed with one of the majors who had a 25-year architectural. And because usually they were always 30s. That was just, when it came into the market. They rewrapped it and called it a 30-year, the smaller manufacturer. And it was like everybody in the city just jumped over to that product, because if I came into your home to present to you and I've got a 30-year product, but yet I've got $300-400 less in material, right? It was costing contractors jobs. So it was very simple for them to jump over. And the major manufacturer basically followed suit, and everybody else followed suit because you had to. So everybody was kind of between a rock and a hard place.
Because it's not regulated, nobody called it out. And
there you go. And so, my thought would be that the industry, and again, that's where I get back to, I just don't believe that these CEOs are sitting there going, you know what, let's go screw the consumer.
They're just trying to adapt.
Trying to adapt and trying to, survive. And, it's a thin margin. Business as tough as it is. It's very commoditized, of course. But I would think that ARMA should get together, would be my thought, and just say, let's figure this out. I know most of the contractors I know across the country are very frustrated with it. But there's not a lot of old school roofers out there. I mean, at 55, I'm an old school roofer. The younger generation has come in and done a great job, but probably have come in after all of this happened and aren't even aware of it. I'm sure there's people in the industry very high up in the C-suite, right, that have no clue about all these things because they weren't there and didn't live through it. It was a long time ago.
Last night I watched an amazing old clip, it's like 6-7 years old, by Bob Villa visiting ICO plant. And I've seen it years ago, just revisited. At the end, he thanks ICO for making asphalt shingles, like, hey, thank you for making this product because a third of the cost of cedar roof. So obviously, asphalt was better option, and it's still better option. There's a reason it's so popular. A lot of roofers hate asphalt shingles, but not everybody can afford metals or rubber or other options. So what do you see as a trend? What do you see as a future? Because, we're already talking about that gas oil is going away in 40, 50 years. So obviously there's going to be an end to it. It's not sustainable. What other roofing materials can we, it's good for Roof Maxx. You are in business for the next 40 and 50
years. And a big
years.
reason we came into the market.
Because of asphalt. But what other alternatives we have to put on our roofs?
Europe's already figured it out. You don't see asphalt shingles in Europe, rarely. They're putting up tile, of course slate. Slate's not, economically doesn't make sense.
Actually, asphalt's still growing there too.
Yeah.
They're behind.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I'm seeing a little bit in the Netherlands and other places, but just a fraction.
Sure.
That their building standards are changing more to the way the states do it.
Sure.
Where there actually are tract developments because the cost of housing got so out of control. And of course, when you buy a home from a tract home builder, you do get more square footage, you get more value because it can be put together quicker. And in U.S., the way we build homes with vinyl siding and things of that nature, you didn't see that in Europe, and you're starting to slowly see that, but it's not been widely adopted yet.
Sure.
So I think it's going to be using metal. Metal has been a very fast-growing segment of the roofing industry, in part because of what's happened to asphalt shingles.
And you feel like metal is more sustainable than asphalt?
There's metal roofs out there that are 100 years old that survived the hurricanes of '04, probably are still on those homes. So yeah, metal's a great roofing system, but extremely expensive. Extremely expensive. So, but eventually asphalt shingles will become very expensive as well, or be mandated out. Just what they're doing, like you said, with cars, and things have really sped up when it comes to the environment. And again, as I said earlier, because of COVID. So as much negative came out of COVID, I think there was equally as much positive came out of COVID. And they saw dolphins in Venice for the first time in decades in the canals. We put a lot less stress on the planet during that period of time. And all the metrics show that we were putting stress on the planet. So I think it makes more sense to put a metal roof on once. That value should be passed on if I sell the home. The value of the home should be worth more if it has a metal roof. It's a lifetime roof. That's truly a lifetime roof that will stand up, if it's done right, to hurricanes and hail. Of course, hail can dent a metal roof, but that's why in Florida back in '04, '05, '06, people were all putting metal on after the hurricanes.
Because that's the only roof they'll stay.
They don't want to go through what they went through in that last hurricane because you get a lot of water in your home, and it's just not necessary.
Disaster.
It's a disaster, yeah.
What other ways we can rejuvenate asphalt shingles? Like besides, you have your technology, soy. What other ways to make asphalt shingles better? What advice would you give to manufacturers to improve their product? What asphalt manufacturers could do better so shingles last longer? Is it putting more asphalt? Is it just, it is what it is, 7-8 years, you go dry?
I think it's putting more asphalt, but I don't know that that's practical because of what's happened. I think that's one of the reasons they're in the shoes that they're in. And maybe it's just calling it what it is, right? And letting people know if you're in a southern climate, you're going to get, 10 or 15 years. And if you're in a northern climate, you're going to get 15 or 20, whatever. Let the consumer make an educated decision based off of facts, not off of something that's just a marketing tool. Because now I'm making decisions for the wrong reasons, and I need to know the truth. Here, I've given this analogy. If Goodyear or Firestone were making tires that had a 50,000 mile tread warranty, and they were blowing out at 25,000 miles, and cars were rolling down the road and people were dying, that would last for about a minute.
Yes.
Right? Yet the roofing industry, because of the fragmented nature, because of the contractors, it's easy for the manufacturers to point their fingers back at the contractor and say it was a poor installation. And many times that's true. My brother and I sat on GAF's National Advisory Council when they came up with the Master Elite program. And the statistics, right, for how the percentage of roofs that are actually put on properly, I believe that and other programs like it through the manufacturers has created a more educated contractor today. I think your generation's much more educated than my generation.
Probably.
You were given books and you had to read them. It wasn't going to happen. Today, they've got all kinds of stuff on YouTube and videos, and yeah, it's a much more educated marketplace. But I don't know what the right answer is. I don't know that they can make that shingle better without more asphalt, which is going to increase the price. Now, I know Malarkey makes a modified roof. And
what do you think about that?
I've not ever installed one. I've never even walked on one. But I talk to contractors I know in different parts of the country. One in particular in Denver, right? They get hammered with hail, big hail all the time. Swears by it. Said that is the product. Now, I don't know the cost comparison. I don't know if they're nationwide yet. I know that they were trying to push to become a nationwide company. But that's modified. I believe it's a modified roof. So that seems to be a good solution. And if they can keep their price competitive with the rest of the market, or the market is the consumer is willing to pay a little more to get that quality, because a contractor truly believes in it, or can really demonstrate the value in it, then maybe that's a solution. I just don't know the manufacturer's challenges enough, only from what I see from my limited vision from this side of the industry.
Love it. Can you explain the patent that Roof Maxx uses? I know it's not your patent, but can you explain the patent? What's patented?
So what's patented is the technology. So there was a Generation 1 patent. A guy by the name of Charles Carr, a food scientist at Maryland University, created the Generation 1 patent. And he was hired by a recycling company that grinds up the shingles at the landfill and sells it back to the asphalt companies, and realized he could bring a shingle back to life in its original state, right, as a dry brittle roof. Sat on the shelf forever, somebody else got a hold of it. Finally, we got a hold of it because I liked the concept. I ended up driving to Maryland. They'd sent me a 5-gallon bucket. It did what they said it would do. I went to Maryland and bought all of the pallets that they had made from a toll producer and brought it back. And Todd and I played with it more, my brother. And then we started treating some family roofs, some friends, and then went, okay, wow, there's something here. Now let's go into the market and see what the market will do. We started selling it to the market under the company Roof Revivers, kept getting more and more traction. Launched Roof Maxx in June of 17, soft launch, put it in the hands of roofing contractors we knew around the country to get more feedback. And by September of 2018, we hard launched. I thought more roofing contractors would come on board, and they didn't. It became a business opportunity. And so most of our partners are, maybe they had some roofing experience or construction experience, but a good percentage of them are just business people that saw a business opportunity. And the thing took off like wildfire. Oh. It was one of the fastest growing business opportunities in history. Kevin Harrington is one of our partners from the original Shark Tank.
He owns like 20 franchises now.
He has, territories in Central Florida. And then his connections are amazing. And now we have another partner in the company who has one of the largest direct response marketing agencies in the country and the planet. They deal with Generac, and Kevin sold everything from the George Foreman grill. He's really tied in, obviously, to Hollywood. We've had some conversations. We're not ready for some of this stuff yet. We're still growing the business. But I would love to get Hollywood behind this because of the environmental, of course, the sustainable side of it. But we're in the early stages, right? We're still in the early adoption phase whether it be the contractors, people looking for a business opportunity, and even for the consumers. But we're growing. We doubled in size during COVID. It was tough for a lot of our dealers. I think some kind of threw their hands in the air and made it an excuse. But we had our top dealers were doubling in size.
If you guys missed it, Kevin Harrington is original Shark Tank. He will be speaking at the Roofing Process Conference. He owns 20 franchises of Roof Maxx in Central Florida. Roof Maxx dealers will be coming to the conference as well, so you can guys collaborate, meet them, talk about business practices and stuff like that. Excited where that's going to take us.
Yeah. And Dimitri, just to clarify, I don't think it's really critical, but we are a dealership model, not a franchise.
I see.
But what we've done with our dealership model is we give all of the support of a franchise. Most dealership models are designed where you just kind of buy the product and very little support, but we give full support. Again, we want to build a brand. We want to build an industry, the rejuvenation industry, and a brand on top of that. So Kevin has been a huge, huge asset, obviously, not just the dealerships, but we also have a partnership with him. He's a partner in the company.
Love it.
In the parent company.
Let's dive into Roof Maxx dealer model. Give me some details. How do you get started? What's the first step? What's the cost? How do you operate? What's your vision?
So, the process is you just go to roofmax.com and it says become a dealer. Then work with one of our dealer services team that basically gets you all the information and answers all of your questions. We have a lot of videos, a lot of guides, that shows the model itself. If you determine that it's right for you, then you go ahead and pull the trigger. You have to buy one tote of product up front.
How much is that?
$17,600. Then
How many roofs can you do with that?
So 54,000 square feet. We speak in square feet instead of roofing squares. Most of our dealers are not roofing contractors.
Sure.
And the consumer doesn't speak in squares. They speak in square feet. So 540 roofing squares. 20 roofs, let's say. Our dealers are getting anywhere from, depending on the market that they're in, 85 cents up to even now $1.15, $1.20. Roofing has gone up, 30% nationwide, the cost. So the numbers have equally gone up for
So $100 a square?
Call it $100 a square, yep. Okay. So $54,000 you would generate out of that tote. That's what our top third of our dealers are out there getting.
Love it.
Yeah. So with that tote, you then get a guaranteed 100,000 population. So that's your territory.
So it's a territory. So you sell it as a territory and nobody else will mess with it.
Nobody can come in and direct market that territory. But what we don't want is a dealer over here and a dealer over here in the same market, maybe one over here. You don't want to discourage them from doing TV and radio and mass marketing because that radio...
How do you do that? Because 100,000 is not really a big area.
Yeah. So, and that's what a lot of our dealers are getting together now, and they'll throw their money together and do the local TV and then split the leads. So they do it at the local level.
Can someone buy more territories? Can you buy 5 territories?
So they can, but then you're required to continually purchase
more product.
Yeah. And
so it's tied to the product, but not to licensing fee.
No, there is no licensing fee.
Okay.
With franchising, there's a licensing fee. You pay a percentage of your revenue. So we don't do any of that. Okay. So our dealers either pay for their own advertising and drive their own leads. And we've now come out with a national program where we're doing advertising. So we spend the money on the front side to generate the leads that they then in turn buy from us, but they had no risk, which obviously advertising is a huge risk when you're building a company.
How much are they buying leads for?
Currently $45.
Per lead. Is it leads or appointments?
Right now they're leads. Now we do have an appointment program. So if you don't want just the leads and you want appointments, then we schedule those for $135.
It's not too bad.
Yeah.
If it's guaranteed appointments, not too bad.
Yep.
What is initial investment in the Roof Maxx if I want to become a dealer?
So if you just took an existing truck and had it wrapped and and maybe you had a trailer, all you have to invest in and get it wrapped, so you'd have to invest in the wrap. The original 17.6.
Is it a requirement?
Okay. It is because we're building a brand. Okay. Yeah, it's very, very important that we build the brand. Again, building a new niche industry, rejuvenation, and the brand alongside of it is important for us. So anyway, you would only have the spray equipment, which is $3,500 to $4,000. So
okay, and then initial investment is essentially $17,000 first batch.
Yep.
Plus vehicle wrap.
Vehicle wrap, and then if you have a vehicle, then great, and if you don't, then you need to get one. We have a full van solution, which is completely built out and wrapped.
What kind of van is that? It comes with the vehicle too?
It comes with the vehicle right down to caulking, okay. And hard hats and safety cones and the whole 9 yards. It's a full built out pitch hoppers and things.
How much is that?
It's a lease program.
I see.
I believe it's in the $800 to $900 range per month.
Okay.
I think it also depends on people's credit. So my brother, who we'll meet with later, we'll have some video on that.
Show us that.
Yeah, it's really neat. It's a fairly new program for us.
Got it.
But the dealers love it, and the van's beautiful. So
love it.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to hear Kevin Harrington's story. I mean, he's the original Shark Tank. How did you guys meet? I mean, the guy he's not a roofer and he has 20 locations. Tell me that story.
Well, we're going to have to rely on a little bit of luck, but also putting it out there. And so we had gotten to a point, and I even thought about going on Shark Tank, but it's a lot of hassle and I don't have the time, and it's a lot of work to get on there. So I started putting out feelers through our public relations firm and just other individuals. And one thing led to another, and somebody knew Kevin Harrington. Well, I didn't know that Kevin was the inventor of the infomercial, and I had watched Shark Tank some over the last 4 or 5 years, but Kevin was on originally for the first few years. So then when I learned who he was, I'm like, well, okay, this is, of all of the sharks who've ever been on there, he's the perfect shark. Because one, he's a pure marketer. So he's a storyteller, right? Lots and lots of connections. Obviously, at a very high level from a business perspective, can help guide us and step on fewer landmines. But he also came out of the home services business. He sealed driveways as a young guy.
I see.
He's from Cincinnati originally. He also had an HVAC company while he was putting himself through college. Kevin's, he worked in his dad's bar and, just the typical immigrant, hardworking philosophy. And Kevin's a hard worker still today. And
immigrants too, where are they from?
I think it's Ireland. I think his dad, and maybe it was his grandparents that were first generation, sure. But, and I'm sure he'll talk and maybe bring that story up at the conference because I've heard him tell it a few different times. But just bottom line is just pure work ethic. Kevin doesn't have to work. I think he's worth $400 or $500 million. So he's doing it because he loves it. Also, he works very closely with his son Brian, who I also work closely with. And then he has his other son Nick, who works in Tampa, Florida. My stepson, is down in Tampa working with the Harringtons, building out the Harrington Mentorship Initiative, which is canvassing, but it's also market education, free inspections. He's
a hustler.
He's a hustler, and they've just so many ideas that it's exciting. So that's a program. As that gets built out, then we will also allow other dealers to go down, and that way they can learn how to build out a local program for themselves. So anyway, yeah, it's been an amazing ride, and very valuable.
Did he try it first with 1, 2, and then made it work? And then how did he get to 20?
No, he came in and just got 20.
Really?
Yeah, and brought in a guy to run it.
Is it because of the territory? Because how big the Florida is?
He wanted the Tampa market. So
how many employees do you have now?
I think they're probably up to 7 or 8 people. I would guess, maybe 9. Yeah.
Just servicing a very big area.
Servicing a big area. They're building out their sales team. They're building out canvassing, which has been very tough because right now people make more money to stay home than they do to go to work. But they're having more and more success with that. September that changes. So, their goal is to really grow that out to where there's at least 3 or 4 canvassers per 100,000 population. In 100,000 population, it's going to take 2-3 people to get through that area if you're doing it right within a year. You're not going to, if you're knocking on the doors and truly educating the customer, going back in and revisiting every time a job is done, going back and talking to those neighbors again, not hammering them.
Yeah.
Not this term velvet hammer in home improvement sales. I don't buy it. Velvet hammer means I'm going to pressure you into something.
So many companies are doing it.
Educate and let the customer buy. Absolutely ask for the business. Most salespeople don't. More sales would happen.
That's also a problem.
Just simply say, hey, would you like to go ahead and get this taken care of?
How do you ask for business? Is it your approach?
That's it. Yeah. Hey, if this makes sense, is it something you'd like to go ahead and get taken off the plate so you don't have to worry about it? You can check it off on your box, right? That was it. And I learned when I started asking for the sale, I started getting sales. In the early years, I'm not a good salesperson.
Yeah, same.
I was the relationship guy and go in and build the relationship. But
I'll email you a quote.
I'll email you a quote. Yeah. And then as the company grew and became more mature, Feazel Roofing, our sales manager was much better than me, so we had a great sales manager. I learned out of necessity when we were on the verge of bankruptcy back in 2006.
That will teach you.
Yeah. So I had to learn how to ask for business. And it was down to just me and a handful of people in the company. And we pretty much thought the doors were going to close. It was my birthday of 2006 that I flew back from Florida to Columbus, Ohio, landed and had to make a decision. We had probably 40, 50 people in the company here in Columbus. We were full bore down in Florida because of the hurricanes. Thought we were going to put on metal roofs forever. The whole market was shifting. Anyway, then I really learned how to sell. I learned how to sell and I learned how to run a business at that point in time because I didn't make the tough decisions. And a mentor of mine, Jim Abrams, he consolidated the heating and cooling industry. I partnered with him doing Roofer Success International some years ago. And he always said, you will make the tough decisions or somebody's going to make them for you. Mm-hmm. And boy, did that really ring true when we were $1.2, $1.3 million in debt. And I had to let go of a lot of people. Many I was on the roof with, 20 years earlier, 15 years earlier.
What was that the hardest part of being in business? Was it the hardest year?
It was the hardest year that we'd ever had. It was the biggest growth for me, the experience. I would never take it back. I would never ask anybody to go through it, but I'd never take it back. Because, you know, you have to run your business with
Have you ever filed bankruptcy? Sorry to interrupt.
No.
So you're 1.2 million in business, because that's
in debt, not in business, in debt.
In debt, but that's what so many people don't understand, that they will get scared by the number. They'll close the door, start over, and I never agree with it. I'm with you. I was almost identical situation. The hardest thing is like you owe a whole bunch of money. You have to figure it out.
Yeah.
And that's the experience that makes you who you are.
You know, I've never heard anybody say they have become wiser because of a string of successes. But a string of failures, I don't believe in failure. I believe failure is when you finally ultimately say, I quit. That's failure. I mean, success is nothing but a string of failures.
How did you get out? $1.2 million in debt. I'm pretty sure a lot of people listening to this podcast, this interview today, they have debt on the books. They can't figure it out. Give some tips, some advice. How did you get out?
Yeah. For us, it was getting rid of all of our overhead.
Firing people?
Yeah, letting people go, man. It was tough. It was tough, especially these guys that were on the roof with us and with my brother and I when we started the company. When we sold Feazel Roofing, we still had, I don't know what the number was. It was a large percentage of people that were on the roof with us were still technicians in the back or had moved into the office in a different capacity. That was really tough. So that taught me a lot. And I thought I will never do something like this again. I'll make the tough decisions.
Wow.
But really just went out and ground it out. There were times where I didn't leave the office. I would come home and back to the office and work till 10, 11.
How did you settle the debt?
We paid it off.
How long did it take you?
Within a year, we had paid it all back.
So did creditors let you work with you? Was it hard?
We literally, at the suggestion of our attorney, and also I had reached out to a gentleman from Roofer Success International, part of Success Group International, Jim Abrams' organization. You know, he's the biggest service-based franchisor ever. 1 Hour Heating and Air, Benjamin Franklin Plumbing, Mr. Sparky Electric. And they suggested do a meeting room at the airport, conference room, invite everybody there, give them your presentation. You know, the local companies knew who we were and they knew our story. But the people coming from ABC Roofing Supply and the other suppliers, right, they didn't. So, and pretty much we had decided during when we gave the presentation, we had to ask them all and say, look, if anybody tries to press charges against us or goes legally against us, the whole thing's going to, we're a turnip, right?
How many people did you invite?
There were probably 50 people there.
50 people?
Yeah, I'm guessing, yeah.
From 50 different companies or?
3 and 4 from some companies, you know, when we were, at the time, I forget the main supplier we were using here that I had never even met. They came in while I was down in Florida.
I see.
But one of the guys who ran our local, really kind of helped run things while we were gone, had built a relationship with them. So we finally said, hey, look, you know, this won't work unless everybody agrees to, you know, we're going to get out of this. It's going to take us 2.5 to 3 years to get you paid back. And we'd like everybody to sign. Our attorney was there, of course, and he explained, you know, what they were signing away. And it was that company who stood up and said, we'll sign. We believe in these guys.
Wow.
Everybody else jumped on board. I'm getting chills just saying that, right?
Wow.
Which was cool because they did believe in us. We were hit by a hailstorm. So we had told everybody during the presentation, it was going to take us 2.5 to 3 years to get you back based off of what we've been doing for the last few months, just doing repairs and maintenance and really focusing on certain things. There was only 2 of us selling, you know. We had a production manager that was still with us. Our accountant was still with us. She was, of course, communicating and fighting off the wolves. Everybody's coming at her. And then myself and this other guy who's still with the company that we sold. We're still good friends with him today. But we had a hailstorm hit 2 days prior. So during our presentation, we said, look, we thought we could get you paid off in 2.5 to 3 years. Now we think we can do it in 2 years because a hailstorm just hit. And we're going to take advantage of that. We paid it off within a year.
Wow. And
moving forward, the company was never stronger because I put up with less and I demanded, you demand respect, but you're still fair. But many times in most businesses, the employees run the company. Mm-hmm. and of course the owner wants to be friends and after a while, right, business has to be business, and you just have to be tight and run it like a business. That is being fair to the employees. It isn't fair to the company, because the company then is not at risk. Mm-hmm. I put the company at risk by
being too kind.
By being too kind, making bad decisions. I mean, there's all kinds of things you could check off on that list. But I got much smarter, more disciplined, and it changed the way our business operated. Wow. And prepared us for what we're doing now. But the last years of the business, I could take off and be gone for 3 or 4 or 5 months, and it kind of ran itself. We had great
But
people.
you did not run away from 1.2 million, and so many contractors do, and you see that. You see it as a trend. I see so many contractors. They'll go in, they'll accumulate debt. Not even 1.2. I've seen guys. I know one contractor who filed bankruptcy with a $30,000. It's crazy, but then they open a new one because they never learned a lesson. Yeah. Then they run a company under
it's the easy way out.
Brother, sister, wife.
So at the time, there were still local suppliers, and you were going to take from a family and an individual versus the ABCs of the world. Not that you want to file bankruptcy because of that either.
Sure.
Right? You still owe them.
But
that.
It was more personal.
It was more personal, and we're not one to give up. We didn't know we were going to make it through it. Thankfully, everybody signed that agreement, and we just started grinding. My brother was still down in Florida shutting that whole operation down, so we'd come back and salvage what we'd spent all those years building. Really a good learning lesson, that 3-year period for both of us. And again, set us up, I think, for what we're doing today, because we run the business more that way today. And we've got amazing people, and we don't micromanage. We're actually a virtual company. So we're okay with prior to COVID.
And you live in Puerto Rico.
I live in Puerto Rico. Yeah. So we've got nearly 30 employees, maybe a little more than that now, because we're building out some other departments, call center and so forth. Wow. But if you trust people and you give them good guidance and hold them accountable to what they need to do, holding their peace, I think that you get better people. If you're not an accountable person, you don't make it very long in the company. Not because of me, because the people in the company will push you out. You won't be comfortable here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What would you say earning potential is for someone in a good market who has a roofing business and wants to add Roof Maxx as a side service?
Let's do a couple different sizes, right? So let's talk about the dealer who's just going to go sell it, spray it, collect it, and maybe do a couple $100,000 worth of business. Can easily make 6 figures. But they have to be somebody who's...
Just off a couple 100,000?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. The margins with the product are 65%-ish. Okay. Yeah. And a lot of that also is, how good are you with marketing? How good are you with your close ratios? Are you a good salesperson, right? Do you manage your time well? So we've had plenty of dealers not succeed, but we've had...
Did you have dealers that have to kick out from the program?
Yes. Yeah, you have to keep buying product through. But we gave everybody our second year in business. Mind you, we hard launched September of 18.
Sure.
Built the company in 19. A few hundred dealers. I don't know what the number was, 250 or something like that. That's why it was one of the fastest growing business opportunities.
So if they're not buying, you're kicking them out?
Well, if you work with them, right? But during COVID, we didn't get rid of anybody. Sure. Because we just couldn't do that. Yet, we saw other dealers that were still successful and growing their business. But for example, Brad Mills, and I use him as an example, he's a roofing contractor, over 40 years in business. His first year, he did $500,000 in 6 months. And he's not a huge roofing contractor. I don't even know what his revenue is. I'm guessing he's $4 or $5 million. Really a solid business, all employees that go out and do the work. He doesn't use subcontractors. He's an old school roofer, right? He wants the control, and I respect that. And he treats his employees well. They have insurance and 401ks and all that. So with Roof Maxx, him bolting Roof Maxx on, and it's a standalone Roof Maxx dealership. They pull up in a Roof Maxx vehicle. But his contractors, his salespeople for his roofing company, of course, they can upsell Roof Maxx even though they're out in a Mills roofing truck. Hey, we have a product called Roof Maxx, and we think we can save you some money here on the roof replacement. So 500,000 in 6 months his first year, 1.5 during COVID.
Wow.
And this year he's on track for 3 million, and told me the other day, like I said, he thinks he can hit 20% to the bottom line. That's almost unheard of, and it's one of the reasons that there aren't billion-dollar roofing replacement companies. The margins are too thin. It's great for a local contractor. You can make amazing, really great money. Some people have gone out and gone beyond that. The guy who bought our old company, he's got 7 or 8 locations, done some acquisitions, has done an amazing job.
Wow.
And then, of course, Able Roofing, Mr. Roof, and they're the largest residential company in the country. Columbus, Ohio is like NASCAR for roofing. We have the largest slate company in the country, Durable Slates, based out of Columbus. You have, what's the software that you can measure the roof, and it also runs your business. I'm trying to think of the name of it.
Eagle View?
Not Eagle View.
iRoofing, Eagle View, Roof Scope?
Roof Snap.
Roof Snap?
Roof Snap's based out of Columbus as well. So there's a lot of innovation in roofing around Columbus, Ohio. I don't know why it is, but yeah.
I mean, Owens Corning is...
Toledo.
Toledo?
Yeah, they're in Toledo.
Love it.
Dimitri, to be honest, I don't think I answered the entire question.
Sure.
So I did on the front side. So a small contractor can make 6 figures. But they're gonna have to work for it. They're gonna have to go out and build their business. The larger contractors, again, Brad Mills, I don't know what he'll make just on his Roof Maxx division, but he puts it both together, and he will hit, he's hoping to hit 20%.
Net.
So that actually means that you could scale a roofing company and do what CentiMark has done, right? They've still not broke $1 billion. Every time they get up around 700-800 million, the economy weakens. They start to jettison a bunch of locations, brick and mortars, get their overhead back in line. So it's amazing, in such a huge industry, other than the suppliers, nobody's made it past $1 billion, but.
Love it.
Yeah.
What kind of complaints are you getting at Roof Maxx from homeowners or maybe franchises? Like, what kind of problems you're trying to solve currently? What people don't like, pushback?
Yep.
If there's any major issues.
So from the property owners, really not much at all. What's really amazing, we have an incredible group of dealers. We're at 4.9 average star rating on thousands of reviews on between Google and Dispatch, our software we use, right? We also do surveys through there. So we're really doing a great job at satisfying the customer.
You still lost 0.1. So what are those 0.1? What kind of complaints? Give me a couple examples.
Somebody didn't show up to the home, or I didn't get a phone call, or hey, they came out and never got my quote to me. Those type things.
What about like anything that contractors don't like?
Well, on the contractor side or the dealer side, because most, again, are not contractors. Yeah. They're people who saw a business opportunity. From the product, not so much. What I hear is the challenge of going out and selling the product and getting acceptance in the local market. But we have dealers, I know recently we had some dealers out west, and there were 3 in one market, in a large metro market. They could not get off the ground. Like, they were selling some, but they just could never get traction. And they really became close, right? And as the head of our dealer success will say, misery loves company. Then he finds out a new guy comes into that market and is crushing it right away. So now I think there's some introductions going on. Listen, guys, it can be done. I don't know where he's at with that. I'm not part of dealer success.
Sure.
We brought on a guy from the franchising world who built out a success program in franchising to come in and build ours out, because I'm a roofer. I didn't understand the franchise world or the dealership model. So, but anyway, so yeah, it's really around sales and marketing. And we tell new dealers coming in today, we didn't know that back then when we started today, that look, sales and marketing, you're going to have a lot better opportunity if you have some sales and marketing experience. Now, we've got a sales trainer. We just finished up a 12-week course. Every Monday we have a call called a power-up call where our dealers are on. So we had a sales trainer on there doing that. When new dealers come in today, part of the onboarding process is a sales training class, how to sell the product. So there's more support around the business model today than there was a year, or 2 years ago. Like I said, really, 19 and then 20 was COVID, and now we're in 21. So we're a very new business.
Where do dealers get products from? Is it getting shipped to them? Is it guide me through the process and chemistry of it? So I know there's water. You know, you have big drums.
Yeah.
How much is it diluted? Like per se, like is it 10% product, 90% of water? Because I assume you just ship the product.
We ship the product, which does have some water in it, and there's surfactant in it, right? There's other elements in there. When it comes as a concentrate, so it's shipped direct to the contractor, straight to the dealer. So then when
5 gallons buckets?
No, 270 gallon shipping totes.
I see.
Yeah, pallet. It's called a pallet tote. So it goes directly to the dealer. They then pump that into spray tanks. So that's the storage tank. They pump it into spray tanks, and then they add water. One to one.
1 to 1.
1 to 1. If you spray Roof Maxx on as a straight concentrate without diluting it with water, you will over soften the asphalt, and as you walk across the roof, you'll scar it. You don't want to over soften the asphalt.
Of course.
That's part of the reason of crushed limestone, the original reason of crushed limestone, so you didn't have sag within the asphalt, from what my understanding is. Now, of course, there's too much of it, and it's causing other issues. So that's the reason for diluting the product 1 to 1. When we started, under Roof Revivers, we did 2 to 1. 2 to 1 ratio. So 2 gallons of water every gallon of concentrate, because that's what we were told. And then we played with it and took it up to where it was 1 to 1, and that works. The roof still stays stable and it does the job. And you don't want to over soften a roof, of course.
How commoditized soy market is? Is it supply and demand? Is it sustainable? Is it local soy? Is it from overseas? What soy market looks like?
So my brother does that side. I don't believe it's local soy. We buy it through distributors that we've been connected with through the Soybean Association. But I do believe it's U.S. soybean farmers. We're not buying it from, if anything, we're selling soybeans to China and other places. Definitely a commodity. The cost of everything is going up right now. Soy is going up. The plastic tanks are going up.
I'm thinking about it right now. You're the tofu of roofing industry.
We're what?
You're a tofu of roofing industry.
We are the tofu of the roofing industry, exactly.
People ask me all the time, what's tofu? Because I stopped eating meat, and everywhere I go, I just do that. Tofu is the tofu steak. And I grill it myself. And it's like, what is that? I'm like, it's tofu. What's tofu? It's soy.
Soy.
What's Roof Maxx? Well, it's tofu.
It's soy methyl ester. So they squeeze the oil out and extract it in whatever process they go through. I don't know all the details on that.
So I probably get the rest.
You're getting the rest as the tofu. Yeah.
The tofu leftovers.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's actually Henry Ford called soybeans the miracle crop. There is the Soybean Center museum at the Ford Museum. He literally walked in back years ago.
Why did he like it so much?
So you can Google Henry Ford soybean miracle crop, because he had a botanist. They were trying to figure out how to make plastics and different things. And one day he walked into the botanist and said, "I'm going on vacation. Read this book, and when I get back, I want everything cleared out, and we're only studying the soybean. It's the miracle crop."
Wow.
And he continued on with that for many years. So I believe he was the first one to extract the oil.
Wow.
Yeah. So
I love soy. I love like anything, like soy related. Like I grew up very poor. For 1 year when I was like 13, I ate meat twice. We were poor, like we couldn't afford meat. And for entire year, pretty much eat like beans or soy.
Okay.
So you'll survive. You'll be just fine.
Yeah.
Rice and beans. Go to Cuba, see what they eat.
Yeah.
And they look good. You want a Cuban buddy? Eat soy.
Yeah. Well, rice, beans, and chicken.
Yeah. Well, if you can afford chicken.
Yeah, if you can afford chicken.
In the U.S. it's cheap, but.
Yeah. But no, it's been a great experience working with the farmers and all the support we've gotten from them. This wouldn't happen without the American farmer. Mm-hmm. Total investment into between them and us, and really the dealers. It's the dealers' money we're putting back into this business. But well in excess of $10 million have gone back into the development, the education, the business model. We're not making money, right? Everything goes back into this business. We're a long way off to build this out. I firmly believe if you run the math, 75 million single family homes, 18,000 roofs replaced, 4.5 million a year, I think it is.
No, actually, this is my next question. how big do you think rejuvenation market is?
Yeah. So 4.5 million roofs replaced each year. And if you look at just half of the roofs, if they get rejuvenated once during their life cycle, then you've got a $8 to $12 billion retail market. Mm-hmm. That's not going to be on the product side. But when you look at when people install a new driveway, an asphalt driveway, people get them sealed, they maintain them. Your home, you put paint on the siding or on the wood so that it doesn't rot. People do maintain things. So why wouldn't they maintain their roof? And if you go back to when I started in the roofing industry compared to today, flat roofing, almost everybody does restoration. Mm-hmm. I mean, anybody that's working with a roofing management company, like Roof Management, some of the big ones, Roof Management's one of the biggest, and they're out of Columbus as well, Marysville.
Everything's out of here.
Yeah, they're out of Columbus as well. So one of their guys used to work with us at Roof Revivers, one of their inspectors. They're always doing maintenance. You install a roof, then you inspect it every year. They're doing maintenance throughout that process, and at the end of it, they do a restoration, really stretch the roof out, and then they rip it off and replace it. But in the early years when I started in the roofing business, you put a hot mop roof on. It went for 20, 25 years, whatever. And you might flood coat it in between or put the silver coat on it, but then you would rip it off. So today, it's a mature market, the restoration market. GE Silicones has got into it. GAF bought Top Coat, so they got into the coatings market. There's no reason that roof rejuvenation doesn't do the same thing.
And realistically, if you're talking about the roof in Florida that will last 15 years plus, you're confident that with the Roof Maxx, you'll get 25 years out.
Yeah, we'll take a roof out. So we're treating roofs that were done 5 years ago. Even though Roof Maxx started in June of 17, as I said, we started treating our first roofs under Roof Revivers. So we've already seen a few that were done in the fall last year, but we don't count those. It was just some really early testing. We did about 50 jobs our first year here in Central Ohio. So we're starting to go out and look at those roofs. And we've been on some of them anyway throughout the time because we wanted to see what was happening. But we're starting to retreat for the second time this year. So we're taking about 90% of the roofs that are going to the landfill can be treated twice, go out 10 years. When we go to look at a roof, about 90% of the roofs we look at, we will treat or treatable. There's about 10% that we say, it's too far gone. Now when it comes to Roof Maxx, we don't stop leaks. We don't make any claims about that, right? If it's been a roof that has functioned properly, no blow-offs, seal tabs, pretty sealed, not a bunch of leaks over time, that's a poor installation. Mm-hmm. We can't help. Tear it off and replace it. But if that roof has not been problematic over that time,
so you're just improving quality.
We're just bringing the shingle back, right? We're not fixing the flashes. We do go in and do general maintenance to the roof prior to treatment, just a tune-up, if you will. But either roof's installed right or it's not. You know how that is.
Love it. I have another question about misleading marketing message about landfills and recycling. And I want to call out quite a few manufacturers and people out there like landfills who claims that they recycle. I travel a lot. Like every week I'm on the road. And, I recently been in Pittsburgh. In Minneapolis, we have one landfill that claims, but we have trailers and I see where it's going. They claim that they recycle, they don't recycle, it goes to the main field and it all gets buried. Speaking about chemistry and chemical elements and everything, is it possible? Is it sustainable? What can we do with the shingles? I've seen that, the marketing messages, we can put it back on the road, but they did not really figure out how to keep it away from landfills. What's the problem with the recycling? Why is it so hard?
I think until the value, I think it's always economics, right? Most things in business are economics. It just boils down to, does it feasibly make sense? Can we make money doing this so we can hire people and stay in business and without a subsidy from the government? So when the value of those grindings outweigh are beneficial to the asphalt manufacturers that are selling to the road companies, then there's a business. And when there's money to be made, there's a business and it'll solve itself. Until then, maybe there needs to be subsidies from the government to offset that so that I can have a grinding plant.
So there's not enough money.
I just don't think there's enough money. If there were, niches get filled. When there's a niche, when there's a void and somebody sees that market, just like what we've done with Roof Rejuvenation. We created it, we saw it as an opportunity, and now there's getting a lot of interest around it. That's why we've had the calls from the manufacturers and the conversations, us, right? Having this conversation. So I think that it'll solve itself, but maybe because, there's a lot of roofing. I think it's 10% of all construction debris is roofing in the landfills, and it sits there for hundreds of years.
It's a lot. It's a lot. And you talk about 10,000 to 14,000 per roof. It's a lot.
Yeah, tons and tons of debris.
Your opinion, how can we fix labor shortage these days? Like, you started early on, out of high school. How would you motivate people around you, like your kids, friends? How can we get people in trades?
Yeah, it's not just a roofing problem, right? They've been talking about this for a long time, and it's really rearing its ugly head more and more every year. Of course, the workforce, the migrants that come here. If they weren't here, there would. Mm-hmm. So I say make them legal if they're not, because there's not enough workforce.
So open doors to immigration?
To open the doors to immigration if it's somebody who's here providing value to this land. If you're not.
Maybe have some work visas for Eastern Europeans. Or
anybody that wants
South
to come,
America.
that wants to fill a void. It's driving up the cost of things, even more now than ever before with COVID. But other than that, you have to start it in the trade schools and start to get the kids to buy in young into it. And the trade school still exists, but I think with technology today, there's not a lot of kids that want to go to a trade school. You just don't see it.
Do you think earning potential will change it? Because if we're going to keep going the way we keep going, even roofers, siding gutter guys, like even in our space, people will be making $50-$70 an hour in no time.
So yes, if the money were there, a lot of people would then go do the hard work. There's not probably a harder job than roofing, as you know, right? You're fighting the pitch, it's in the air, it's hot, 150 degrees on the roof.
But you can make $300-$400 a day.
Yes, but not as an employee typically. As an owner, if you did as an owner, but the employees,
I've seen a lot of guys, if you're good with a nail gun, you can make, I traveled to Florida a few weeks ago, and they have guys who are making $350 a day.
Yeah.
If you're good, you're good.
Yeah, but you see the workforce they're immigrants, and they're hard workers. Mm-hmm. This country, I'm not saying that Americans are lazy, right? But I think each generation after gets softer and softer.
Exactly.
This country
100%.
wasn't built by, it was built by people that came over here.
And wanted it.
Hungry.
It. And now we're not hungry anymore.
Yeah.
And government keeps giving them money.
Yeah. So, each generation gets more and more soft now. Of course, you introduce technology and all these things. So I don't know what the solution is, but I know that we need people that want to come here and work. And I'm glad because, you look at somebody from Mexico, Central America, South America that's here working, let's just call it roofing, making $300 a day. I know that only about $50 of that goes in their pocket for food and a few drinks on the weekend because they'll sleep 10 in an apartment. They're not living it up. And that's a massive amount of money, right? That's back in Mexico, you're talking about that's like making $1,000 a day. That money's going back to support their families, and I really respected that. The workforce shifted in 2003 when the hailstorm hit Columbus, Ohio. And we had major problems with labor. And once they came in, you saw the market. By the end of the storm, even local contractor was using Latin labor, including us. And man, they're just hardworking, respectful, honest.
You earn your living, and there's no shame to it.
Now, a lot of guys on here are going to be frustrated because they're going to say, "Yeah, but they're taking my work," and that's probably true, but.
I don't think they're taken. It's open competition. If you can outwork them, go outwork them.
If they weren't here, it'd cost $5,000 a square to put a roof on because nobody could keep up.
Exactly.
Supply and demand would be so out of control. And not just that, right? Landscaping, whatever. The construction trades as a whole, there'd be nobody to build anything. Mm-hmm. We need to figure that one out.
Your opinion, what's happening right now with the plywood market, lumber?
Yeah.
What I mean, everybody's talking about it. Obviously, there's supply and demand. Do you think we'll see prices go back less than $10 for a sheet? Do you think it was? I personally think that it was underpriced. You know, to have $6 OSB sheet, I think it was like we enjoyed it for the longest time.
Yeah.
I don't think we'll see that. We'll probably see like $15, $20. But what do you think happened in your opinion?
It's going to be interesting to see what happens. I mean, when you look across all, right, we have challenges right now getting spray units for new dealers, not because of the spray unit, because they can't get the plastic tanks. So there must not be many manufacturers that make those globally, and a couple of them or one of them went down because of COVID.
Economy is so vulnerable, like supply and demand. Like
supply chains are very vulnerable,
Yeah.
and in today's world, you know, the supply chain is thin because margins are thin in a commoditized world. Roofers in the old days used to make a ton of money. The guy that we work with out of high school, my brother and I, the Weisensteins, he said the year you were born, his son Tab and I were born in '66. And he said, the year you guys were born, I made about $150,000. This was in probably 85, 86. I said, you know how much I made this year? About $150,000. He said, do you know what $150,000 was in 1966 compared to 1985? And I know, and that company's no longer in existence today. Tom has passed away. Tab actually has passed away too, unfortunately. But that business, even at the tail end, was only making $150,000 a year, or $100,000 a year, right? So there was really great money in the trades. It was respectable to be a contractor or a banker or an attorney back in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s. To be a contractor was you held your head high. I still do, and I know a lot of contractors do. Probably the ones who are watching this are proud contractors. We should be. It's a hell of a hard job in an industry. But people look down. That's why when I said earlier, I'm a proud roofer. When people ask me what I do, I'm like, I'm a roofer. You know, I'm not a business owner. Yeah, I'm a business owner, but I'm a roofer, man. I mean, I love this industry. I respect the guys that do it. I don't care where they're from. They can be from here, Europe, Mexico, Latin America. The people that are out doing this job, it's necessary, it's essential, and we need to be more proud of it. I know that there are a lot that are, but yeah, it's an amazing industry.
So we have a couple of questions here from our community. First one is from Delta Roofing. Is this a franchise or an add-in to your roofing business you have?
So currently it is. It's not a franchise, it's a dealership. We do require a standalone vehicle for that model with a wrap, because again, we're building not just, the consumer wants to know that there's something behind this. They're not going to buy this product if it doesn't have something behind it, right? And we are seeing that with other products in the market that aren't moving very well, or some people that are actually even out there, we believe, saying that it's Roof Maxx and it's not. And that's going to be normal in any industry, but when something grows this quick. But ultimately, this is about building a brand and an industry. And we feel that this is the route that we want to take. And a lot of roofers don't, they just want a bolt-on product. But, at this time, we're not doing that.
Dealership.
Yeah. And we have, because we've had conversations with some of the manufacturers, there may be some opportunities there where it could be a bolt-on product, but we have to protect our existing dealers who've built this business with us.
Love it.
Yeah.
Abner Miller asks, why won't they sell samples?
He's the sample guy, and I believe we send samples. We don't sell samples. I believe we send samples if they ask, correct?
Treated samples?
Not treated samples, because it's a nightmare to send treated samples. We send product.
Samples of the product, I guess?
Yeah, we send a spray bottle of product, I think.
So you do sell?
Yeah, for people that come in and are interested in being a dealer. Now, for us to just say, here, get a sample here, we'd be sending out thousands of spray bottles of this stuff, and now we're in the spray bottle business. They get it, they spray it, they throw it away, whatever, right? If you're serious and you're interested in being a dealer, we'll absolutely send you a bottle of product. But also the samples, our dealers have even asked us for samples. Well, you're cutting, you have to spend a lot of time at the landfill, paying somebody to cut, package them up. So our dealers, we teach them to do that at the local level, because they do need to walk into the customer's home and let them
create your own presentation.
Create your own product, your own samples.
We we were sending like 300 milliliter spray bottles of just the sample product for a long time, anybody that would ask. And we'd find out, we'd call them back and follow up, and they wouldn't call us back. They said they never got it, they threw it away. And to be honest with you, I think we kind of quit doing the sample thing.
I can see why.
Okay.
But I mean, it was, and for a while we were even cutting up samples and treating them. And it was
so, and I would say, to this, we're giving you referrals of dealers that are out there, and it's pretty easy to pick up the phone and call a dealer. The phone numbers are out there. So, and again, Brad Mills Roofing, been in business for 42 years. If you go to YouTube and watch the videos, you're going to see that the product does what it says.
Absolutely.
But it was a good question, but yeah.
So that was a question from Abner Miller. Now we have a question from David Miller. Will it affect the siding or windows if it gets oversprayed?
So overspray, that's the best thing about Roof Maxx. So if it gets on the windows, it'll be milky white on the windows. You just rinse it off. Same with siding, same with concrete. If it gets on a plastic deck, like a Trex deck, it's like a skating rink, so rinse it off. When it comes to spraying the roof, you'll get overspray on a skylight. You can't get back to the skylight until it's actually absorbed down in. So we just tell the customer, listen, first rain that comes through, it's going to be a little milky on your skylight, but the first rain that comes, your skylight will be clean, because the soy, methyl ester, is a cleaning agent as well. So it removes all the grime off the skylight, and it looks great after the first rain.
Wow.
So not issues with staining. One of the first things that we actually looked at when we started to scale the business was how much issues with overspray.
So the type of skylight that the product will affect is the polycarbonate or the acrylic dome skylights.
Yep.
We do have to cover and protect those.
But that's details.
I mean, that's in all of our training.
Yeah. So we've got training for all of this stuff, right? But yeah, we did find out that one's spider webbed, right?
Yeah.
So as we learn some stuff like that, but I mean, really the callback, that's how we're at 4.9 customer satisfaction rating. It's because of the simplicity of the product, which is the scalability of the product.
Love it.
That's the biggest thing.
Miles Peterson asking in Roofing Insights private group. Glad to see this. I couldn't believe they are selling it. Where's the science? Seems like a gimmick.
Yeah. So the science, if you go to our website, you'll see the PBS mini documentary. I'm on it. Battelle Labs, the world's largest research and development company, is on it. They're based out of Columbus, but they're worldwide. They manage Los Alamos National Labs for the U.S. government. So
nice.
Yeah, they help build stuff for Black Hawk helicopters and all of that. So, but we worked with their leading bio-based chemist, Barry McGraw with the Soybean Council, the new uses, head of new uses, who we partnered with, as well as the professor from Ohio State University, who did all the environmental impact studies. So that's all in that 5-minute documentary. So there's a lot of science behind it. Now the science behind it was great, but it wasn't in-field proof yet. 4 years ago.
So now you start.
So now we're getting these stories. Yeah, we're getting the stories back when a hurricane hits, like I talked about, Hurricane Sally and the hailstorm in Iowa. But great question, and trust me, I was skeptical when I first heard about the product ourselves.
Good. Michael McDowell is saying, I'd like for him to provide addresses of roofs that this treatment has been completed on. I just have a hard time believing that it extends the life that much, or that it doesn't make the roof change colors. So, skeptical audience here.
No, as it should be. Again, I was skeptical as a roofer. It does change the color of the roof back closer to the original color. And that will fade some with time.
Just like cleaning. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If you pressure wash or you dry away, it also changes colors.
Yeah. And we're putting the oils in, so it's actually changing it back closer to its original color. We can't give him addresses to go walk on a bunch of roofs, but he could certainly call Roof Maxx dealer or go watch some of those videos and see what it's doing. But
go to YouTube, guys. Type in Roof Maxx. You'll see.
Type in Roof Maxx. There's a lot of videos out there with all these things that are happening.
Daniel Alter has a really big one here. I have personally seen the product installed. I have also been on a roof after the application. The asphalt shingle is definitely more playable after. 2, I am not an installer of Roof Maxx, another contractor locally is. 3, great investment opportunity. If you are the HOA, condo, townhome business side of roofing, you can treat massive roofs quickly, huge profit, and it looks very appealing to the HOA for being cost effective. 4, no idea what the roof looks like in 5 years, but the science seems legit. Then again, I'm not a science, so yeah, I guess it wasn't a question. Bill Lambert says, we have a local applicator sell this treatment to a customer selling their house guaranteed 5 years. Well, then it rained next month and we replaced the roof. Junk product or lying salesperson.
Yeah.
Month later, they're...
So it's hard to say. I mean, he would know whatever that deal would have been, my brother, because he deals with that side of it. But I'm sure there are jobs out there that shouldn't have been treated that were. If we hear about it, we pay the customer back. We deal with the dealer, right? We're just going to keep customers happy, right? We're not running around. We're not running around.
How long do you see, like, what's the result? Like, I sprayed today, should I see results in 2 weeks, 3 weeks?
Within 72 hours, it's reached maximum flexibility.
Okay.
So it soaks down and rehydrates the asphalt very, very quickly. So,
what's the age of the roof you would not touch? Like, let's say it's 35 years old. Like, you're still going to treat it? Or like, is it cap years, cap condition?
Not cap years, it's more cap condition. If there's more than a third degranulation on the roof, we're not going to treat it.
So you need granules?
Yeah, we don't want to, I mean, if you put it down without any granules, that shows that roof's pretty far along. Plus the asphalt's so exposed, you're going to get hammered with UV. So we really felt a third degranulation, and that's something you're just looking at, and you just have to get an eye for it. Yeah. And then again, if it's been a problematic roof, we tell our guys, because we don't offer a leak-free warranty. This is a flexibility warranty. So it's a maintenance product. It's not a magic product. It's just simply a maintenance product, and that's the way it should be sold.
Joseph O'Brien, he's our student in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Do insurance companies recognize or recommend their services? If a roof is 20 years old, will adding Roof Maxx do anything to keep their insurance companies off their backs? Does it void warranties? Does it fix a roof or just make it look pretty for a couple of years?
Yeah, great questions. So the insurance companies, we have had people get their insurance reinstated because of our product. But
so if the insurance company want to cancel policy because of the old roof, you can apply it?
Yep. So we've had that happen a lot from dealers.
In Florida?
In Florida and all over the place.
Nice.
In Florida all over the place. I know
that's good to know, because now you're solving a real problem, because people...
we are, but we can't make any guarantees in the insurance company. The insurance companies, and how do you work your way up through State Farm and Nationwide? Maybe at some point, would love to have that conversation with them. But we have to build the business and keep doing what we're doing. So I know in Florida, you have to get a special inspector, which is not just a roofing inspector. You have to be certified. I forget what it's called, but it's for insurance-related inspections. And they're the ones that go out and inspect the roof after we treat it. And they say, pass. And then the insurance company doesn't raise their rate. And it depends on the insurance company. Some are being more hardline than others. So this is really, there was a great article in Roofing Contractor magazine, I think a month ago, about all of that. Been rough in Florida. So again, we can't make promises at this time, but we've.
But insurance companies have been recognizing it.
Yeah.
Hopefully
so we're hopeful to get something in the future for sure.
But it definitely doesn't void the warranties.
Definitely doesn't void the warranties. No.
So you don't have any pushback from shingle manufacturers.
We haven't, and that's one of the reasons that we brought in Ohio State and Battelle Labs and put out the study from PRI prior to really launching in the market. One of the biggest things, and we've done extensive studies, more than anybody out in the market in any type of a coating when it comes to asphalt shingles. It has to be permeable. If you change the permeability, you now are creating a situation where you have moisture in the attic mold, wood rot, right? So that roof has to remain permeable. So that was one of the key things that we tested. At this point, it's pretty hard for the manufacturers to say anything. If they did, it would have, I don't know that a lot of people, we would have all of our dealers out there that are, we have some $20, $30 million roofers out there that would come out and be like, no, not at all. So, and I don't think that my conversation with the one gentleman from one of the majors, he felt that they wanted to get in the maintenance industry. And I'm not sure what the reasoning why. I think that there could be part of what's happening with the ESGs and Larry Fink, the CEO and founder of BlackRock. Again, he's pushing people this way, and public companies are going to be held accountable. Even if you're a big private company, you're still going to be held accountable. And so maybe it's just changing mindsets.
Love it.
I don't know. I hope so.
Interesting comment from Eric Hoffman. I used to sell and apply it before they went to franchisees.
So we never went to franchisees.
Dealership.
So we did it under an authorized dealer without an exclusive territory. And that was up until we hard launched until September of 2018. And then we went to an exclusive territory. And that's the way we've been going all along. So if anything were to change, because as we evolve, the solar industry has come at us. The solar industry has a lot of interest in what we're doing. But anyway, we also have to make sure that we protect the dealers who have gone in and built market share in their markets, and we will.
So my personal question for you is, you're 55 years old today. Why don't you retire? Do you have to work?
We sold Feazel Roofing in 2013. I spent a year building my house, year and a half. Todd and I actually went down prior to selling the business and spent about 8 months in Playa del Carmen, Mexico. After about the 8th bottle of tequila, right? Looking in the bottle of that bottle, what are you going to do? 55's young. We love what we do. There are times that I like to throw in the towel because, there are weeks, they're still 80-hour weeks, still 90-hour weeks. Not as consistent as it was with the first 3 years. I didn't do anything but work.
Sure.
And, but what are you going to do? I mean, you just can't sit and do nothing. And we love this. It's exciting because it's bigger than us, much bigger than us. It's doing something good for helping people with business opportunities. It's also good for the homeowner. It's good for the planet. We're just having a ball. We love it. So,
love it.
Yeah, that's the main reason. And money is always a driving force, of course, sure. Right? But that's not the only driving force as it was with Feazel Roofing.
Of course.
When we were younger.
Hardest year ever in business? Like, you've been in business for like almost 40 years. What's the hardest year you ever had?
2006, when my brother and I were as I told you, in the warehouse down in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, tears running down our cheeks going, what the hell are we going to do? And then we figured it out. As I said, I landed July 1st, my birthday, this day in 2006. And we started just chopping away, man. Chop wood, carry water, and you figure it out and just not giving up. My brother, if it wasn't for him, I could possibly be living under a bridge. And I say that jokingly, but not really, because he's a grinder. And in the early days of Feazel Roofing, we went through a lot of, you hit different glass ceilings from $1 million to 3 to 5 to, and he's just a stick-to-it guy. I've learned that through him. He gets it from my father, our father. And he gets that from our father. But for me, I've learned that. Because I'll tell you, if I hadn't learned it by the time we did Roof Maxx, I'd have thrown in the towel. Because this has been tough. It's been tough, but it's been rewarding.
Love it. Give one advice to contractors who are still in business, who's discouraged, maybe have hard year themselves. What would you say to them? I
would say the number one thing, and is joining a group of contractors. Whether it's yours, Roofer Success International, I don't care whose it is. Or if you can't afford that, find a couple successful contractors in your market who will mentor you. Because what we found is you feel like you're on an island by yourself and you're trying to make these decisions. Your wife doesn't understand what's going on, your girlfriend, your family, nobody gets it. Only my brother and I would really get it. And it can be painful, obviously, as you know, you've been down that path. But if you have somebody that's kind of a sounding board, you know what to do and you know the right things to do. You just need sometimes somebody to give you that, they need to, I don't know what the right word would be, to verify that yes, what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling is correct, and then give me the courage to go do it. I'd say that's the biggest thing. We only fail because of fear. And I still have that fear on occasion.
Wow.
But I think we only fail because of fear, because if you don't have fear, I think you stay positive and move forward. But we make a lot of decisions out of fear in life. I certainly know I have, and that's tough.
Great advice. Give one advice to the homeowner who is about to hire a contractor.
the most basic advice is, you're saying one thing? Okay,
whatever.
yeah.
Give some tips.
Definitely check the online reviews and that stuff. Workman's compensation, liability insurance, and just make sure that you've got to be confident in that person. But you can't just be confident in somebody and not check those things, right? You need to see the insurance. You need to see the workman's comp.
I feel like that's what's usually happening, because sales guy usually is a really confident person. He sells you this dream, and it makes people blind and not to check other things, because everybody gives this advice. BBB news, like every time someone gets screwed, it's like, check this and this. But the person is so confident. You're like, how can you not believe that guy? And crooks are the most confident of all.
That's true. And I would say from a lesson from the contractor, if you're going to sell something, you're going to make a big claim, make sure you can back up the claim and probably, over deliver. It's why we were real adamant with Roof Maxx that, were we going to make huge claims? No, it's going to give flexibility for 5 more years. It's not going to fix leaks. It's a maintenance product. Don't oversell it. Our dealers who've oversold it, I think, have done worse than our dealers who just sold it for what it is. I think that it's easy as a salesperson in business to get out there as an owner and you're trying to get going. When you're not hungry and you're confident in what you're doing, and there's a demand for your product or your service, you don't go beg for business. You don't tell people everything they want to hear. You sit down and say, look, this is a messy job. We don't damage a lot. We really do everything in our power to not damage something. But if it does happen, and it does, and it can, and it might, we're going to take care of it. And it's going to be no problem. It's not going to be a headache for you. But the reality is we're ripping tons of debris off your roof, so things can happen. But I'm always a phone call away, right? Just speaking honestly with the person, that's all they really want to hear. They'll buy from that quicker than the guy that I think just tells them yes to everything they want to hear.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I see you as a biggest challenge to roofing asphalt manufacturers. And I want to finish this interview today with your advice or your word, your message to asphalt shingle manufacturers. What would you say to them?
The National Advisory Council that we sat on years ago, Todd and I, go out and find a collective of roofing contractors amongst ARMA members. So they can't all be from CertainTeed or all from GAF or all, right? Get everybody together, get in a room. I would say to start, get the manufacturers in a room and start to go, are we going to solve this problem? And if we all agree to do that, what's the standard? And we all agree to stay within the same standard. I think the class action lawsuits will go away, or a lot of them. I think the contractors will feel better about what they're selling. I know the good contractors are out there saying, look, the warranties, Bob Veal even said it's just a marketing tool. It's not even real. Mm-hmm. So I think that would be a step in the right direction. And then maybe get your larger contractors or, a sampling of your contractors together and just have discussions and figure out what makes sense. If they all collectively choose to do it, it's a simple thing. Customers aren't going to quit buying your product because you go away from a lifetime to a 20 or whatever. Mm-hmm. Or maybe it's a 25, right? Whatever they decide, but it's certainly not 50 years and it's certainly not a lifetime. Sure. Not even close. And I believe that they'll find the right solution. But in today's world, people like transparency, because of the internet, because of guys like you.
They don't like gimmicks.
Yeah, there's people out there now, you can't hide anymore. Even as a contractor, you can't hide anymore.
And it starts from the top. So if manufacturers setting the stones, it passes down. Like
yes, it does.
Fish start rotting from the head. And this is what's happening. You have this bad message here or bad practice here. It goes down, and then it goes down.
And again, I think that they were sucked into it, and everybody jumped on that train pretty quick. And again, I wasn't there, but I saw it happen, front seat. And now it's just time to reel it back in and fix it. And I think that, again, maybe this gets out to those guys and they hear it and make a decision to do something about it. I hope they do. If they don't, I'm not out there to beat on the manufacturers. I'm out there to, even if they do that, Roof Maxx is still going to be here, and roof rejuvenation products will still be here, because it only makes sense to extend the life of anything that you can extend the life of, especially today. And nobody wants to replace a roof.
Love it.
Yeah.
Well, absolutely amazing interview. I enjoyed it. I know you guys did too. Give it a like. Comment below, what do you think about 50-year asphalt shingle warranty? I want to know where my audience is. And like this video if you liked it. and maybe dislike it if you don't like the idea of Roof Maxx. So that'll be our voting pretty much.
Yep.
If you like it, it means you like this idea of rejuvenation. And if you dislike the video, we'll see the ratio. It's like, okay, few people don't believe in it. Yep. Michael, thank you so much for your time. It was an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.